Well, you have four specific regions, really. You've got US and Canada, you've got the Middle East, you've got Europe, and you've got Southeast Asia. In Southeast Asia and the Middle East, most of the units are comparable to hotels, and they're luxury units, and they're full service units, which means they're not just rooms. There are restaurants, there are bars, there are spas, they're usually full-fledged recreation centers for families. The Middle East especially, because when people move to the Middle East, there's definitely no ownership opportunities. Europe tends to, because of the high labor cost, tends to run things a little different, and they're also smaller units, and they're more privately owned. So when you have units that are less than 100 rooms, the general manager's responsibilities with an owner are much less. They're more like a rooms division manager. The US is different as well. They're larger units, especially Oakwood units, where the general managers are involved in running their units, but they don't have the responsibilities of anything other than the rooms. Some have retail space, so the GMs also are involved in selling the retail space. But other than that, they don't really control sales and marketing, finance, or F&B because they're non-existent or corporately run. So all four markets have a different responsibility. If you go to Asia and the Middle East, general managers of hotels will hop over to service residents and back. Other parts of the world are not. They don't come that route. Most of the times they come out of rooms division of hotels. They come out of retail, because in effect what they're doing is they're selling a unit. They're not really running it, because they do have housekeepers and such that do the units. But generally, you're just renting it because the services do not come with it. In other words, maybe you'll want housekeeping once a week, but you're really not running anything more than a Airbnb. Depends on location. In the Middle East and Asia, which you're looking at hotel general managers, they're getting a U.S. net salary or a local net salary and accommodation and other benefits. In Europe, no. Europe, they'll get a gross salary because anything given in Europe up and above the base salary is taxable. In the U.S., it's the location dependent. San Francisco, New York, salaries will be far higher than they will be in Chicago or Miami. It's just because the nature of the beast. They're highly taxed areas. Cost of living is much higher in San Francisco and New York, so you expect the salaries for these people to be higher as well. You can't, because the problem you face is the competition. You're looking at Marriott has as advertised on their site they need 1,000 general managers in Asia alone in the next 5 years. How do you compete with the companies the size of Marriott, Hyatt, or Intercon, who are also surfing for the same people? You can't compete because they can offer a future. What can the service residence industry offer? A full-time job for as long as you want to stay there, but what's your chances of growing into a vice president? Or limited, especially due to the fact that most entry-level people are not the caliber of people who will make a vice president, with due respect. Yesterday I was a panelist on a seminar on housekeepers, which has the same issue. How do you get people to go in to be housekeepers? Who wants to clean toilets? They have to look at other forms of people to where to find them as well. The industry needs to find people. Where do they come from? They're new arrivals in the country. There are those who are over 50 who are looking for a second career, but they're not going to come out of hotel school and go into service residence. Where else are they? People who are in retail or other businesses who can find their way over into service residence and find no difficulty operating there. But these people cross over. But regular hotel people want to go to a hotel. I've been really happily surprised. I had not attended before. I find it one of the most well-run and comprehensive conferences on a specific subject, and the speeches and everything were dead on. A lot of conferences, the CEOs sit up and they talk about nothing because it's a public company, and they're afraid to say anything to affect their stock prices. Here, people said what it was they had to say. There was no bull.